You're here and I'm queer and welcome back to my channel. I am so obsessulated for this video because we will be making Elphaba from Wicked. Yes, we're making another one because what's better than having one Elphaba doll? Having 3 of them. Well, 3.5. These dolls are slowly turning into my Little Mermaid dolls and I can't complain. Of course, there are other characters we can also explore, so let me know if you guys are interested. After the first movie last year, I knew I could not wait for part 2. So we ended up seeing the Broadway version. Well, the Pantages version. My impatience would not let me endure waiting a whole year, so I'm so excited for the new movie to see their take on Act 2. For this new Elphaba doll, I want to blend elements from the movie and the stage. My last Elphaba doll had a very heavy Margaret Hamilton / Mugler vibes since it was so covered and structured. It's giving this. So this time I want to play around with more movement and textures. She retains the strong silhouette, of course, but I wanted to show some skin to highlight her progression with self-love, confidence, and power. The hat brim is also tilted up to show her face a little bit more, and her outfit will have accents of wine color inside like the stage version. Overall, she will still have the glam, the drama, and the wickedness. Now for our muse, I will be using the official Elphaba doll from Wicked as they have amazing face sculpts. I do feel like these are the same exact dolls from last year, but with different outfits. I still really wish that the body is similar to Barbie's overall proportions, at least in the feet department. To give the overall outfit a stronger silhouette, let's go ahead and cinch in the doll's waist with the boiling method. This will of course give the illusion that the dolls are corseted underneath the outfit, like most queens do. I've done this waist slimming technique for so many times now, and it's actually not my favorite way to do things, but it is faster and not as invasive than cutting the doll apart. Do be careful with this method as it can be really unpredictable. I never truly know the proper timing for these, but I just have to monitor it and make sure that we're not going overboard, and I try to keep the heat like medium low. And I do unravel and uncover the body here and there just to make sure, like if it's not enough, then I'll put it back in and so on. Let's wait for the body to settle. For now, let's go ahead and work on her hat. This is the official hat she came with, so let's go ahead and transform it. At first, I was so taken back with how bent the brim of the hat in the original Broadway version, but I thought how fitting it would be to incorporate that into my second Elphaba doll, in terms of costume storytelling-wise. She's older, powerful, and more confident, and having her face more visible felt perfect. Since the plastic is actually kind of tough, we do need to use some wire to really adhere that onto the hat and keep that pose permanently. I will be gluing it as well, but adding the wire is just extra security. Now you guys know I love a wide brim hat, and I feel like this one could be wider, and this is what I did last year as well, so I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm just taking Warbler, and we are just adding some length to the brim of the hat. And of course, we have to bring back the texture the hat originally had, so I'm just using some hot glue over here, and I'm just doing that all over the hat so that everything is uniform looking. I do feel like the hot glue texture is a little bit more organic also, so I think it works out pretty well. And now let's go ahead and paint everything black. Now for the coat dress, I want to say a massive thank you to That Plastic Biz on Instagram for their amazing talent and skill. They killed it again with this coat dress, and we have been on this journey since June. I ended up sending them the fabrics I found here locally, so this is truly an international creation. And it's always so pleasant working with them and having the volley of creative ideas. Also, this coat dress is long. Very long. I mean, just 18 inches, no big deal, but honestly, I don't know where I'm putting these dolls when I'm done. Wish me luck. They truly killed it with this coat dress. I am so obsessed and in love with it. I love the mixed fabric. I love the texture. I love the color so much, and everything about this coat dress is just truly to die for. It is so grand. It is so amazingly like wicked looking. It's very organic. It's perfect. Now let's go ahead and add more details. Let's go ahead and add some cape, and I'm using the same exact fabric I did from last year's Elphaba because honestly, I'm so obsessed with this fabric, and it's still super perfect for the overall look because it's very mushroom-like, it's very naturey. I do want to kind of like tatter the ends of it. I mean, Miss Elphaba is literally in the woods within nature, so I feel like her cape would not be perfect looking. I want to add the same exact fabric around her décolletage. I feel like it would make it look more organic and more naturey, and I don't know, I just feel like it looks more elegant that way. I realized that with dramatic mood lighting, and honestly, what I'm wearing right now is the perfect example. Even though the dress is textured, detailed, layered, and so on, all of those details get lost super easily. This happened with last year's Elphaba too. It does not pick up the details at all. Like, it just gets lost, you know? So it truly makes sense why stage costuming and drag costuming often add sparkles or visual noise to give the costumes more interest. So like the stage Elphaba, let's give her some sparkles. Even though we're decorating this with sparkles, I do want this to kind of make sense, so I will be doing this with mostly black gems. Because you know black is this year's pink. But I will mix in green and AB crystals as well. Of course, we want to be strategic with the placement of the gems, like we're not going to put it all over her, but definitely like certain points like the arms, the cuffs, maybe like going around the ends of the gown. Definitely something that's very appealing to the overall shape of the coat dress. And, you know, maybe all over like the bottom parts of her skirt. But yeah, it's so funny and kind of difficult because stoning the gauze, it's literally made out of like 2 pieces of threads. So I wasn't even sure if it was gonna hold. Oh my Oz, I am so obsessulated. Dare I say, I also need this in my life. Perfection. I mean, look how this thing just sparkles and it's so like, it just twinkles here and there. It looks like a night sky almost. I love it, love it, love it so much. I love the AB crystals. I love the hints of green in there. And honestly, this whole skirt area is kind of crazy and super wide. Yes, everything is stoned, even though there's an overlapping, even though it's going to be folded in there. I had to make sure every single part of this skirt is stoned. I am so in love that the AB crystals actually look like pink and lavender in some angles and lighting. I feel like it ties in super well with Glinda, and I'm just super obsessed and so mesmerized with how magical this looks. Like last year, I also wanted to give her a brooch and thought this Glinda earring would be perfect as one. At first I thought this was the Comet pulled from orbit earring because there was a lot of speculation dissecting everyone's costume from Wicked, but I think it's just a bubble themed earring. I still think it's a nice touch to include it in Elphaba's coat, so let's go ahead and copy it. Let's take my mold maker and let's mix equal parts together to create a beautiful clay mold. You want to make sure that you're working faster and just go ahead and press what you want to make a copy of, and there you have it. We have a beautiful mold. I then just take a UV resin to cast our mold. Obviously, the UV resin is not meant for like a solid mold like this, but because it's super like thin, I feel like it would work okay. And voila, there you have it. And I realized that this would actually not work, so I ended up covering everything with gems and rhinestones to add more details and bring out whatever this thing is. Definitely not the comet pulled from orbit, but you know, I thought let's go ahead and pull out our fancy crystals and so on and recreate it. Honestly, this looks so good, and the scale of it as a brooch is perfect. So long story short, making a mold and casting it was not needed. For her boots, I really love the original boots, and I think they really need to release this for us to own. But because of the size of this doll's feet, it's just so big and massive, and I feel like personally, it's not super proportionate with the doll. So I think I will make her a new pair to fit with the new coat dress, both visually and to scale. Something thigh-high, pointy, witchy, and wicked. I do want to give her some stockings, so let's go ahead and build the boots on top of the stockings, you know, for the sake of like fitting perfectly. So over here, I'm just taking my pleather fabric. This one is kind of like a matte pleather fabric. It's very stretchy. I believe it is a 4-way stretch. And I will be sewing it in the back and stopping by the ankle. We should have something like this, which is thigh highs, it's angled, and then I have excess fabric by the feet area. For the actual shoe, I'm using Glinda's Ostas ball shoe, and this is obviously a perfect fit for all of these Wicked dolls. I do want to change the shape of it, so I just added a tape underneath the sole, and we are exaggerating the point of the toe box area. I transfer the tape onto Warbler, and we're cutting out the same exact shape. This way I can exaggerate the toes by using the new soles that we have. I then take my epoxy sculpt to sculpt in the new toe box. Now this part doesn't have to be completely perfect because it's going to be covered by fabric, but I do try my best to make it as smooth and symmetrical as much as possible. And there you have it. I also cut out the straps because we don't need it anyway, so let's go ahead and put these shoes on. I've done this method so many times as well when I'm making boots, but you pretty much just want to go ahead and cover the entire shoe. So we're kind of making a permanent boot cover in a way. You know, we're gluing everything else besides obviously underneath the shoe and also the heel area. You're going to be cutting out those excess fabric. And now we're done with the boot making part. Now we can kind of have fun and decorate it. I'm pretty much just layering the same exact fabric and I'm adding those visible stitches, making it a little bit more imperfect looking, very organic. I want to add some hot glue texture here and there, kind of like the inside part of the shoe, just to add kind of like the nature aspect to it. Of course, you want to go ahead and paint it. I want this to have like a mixture of satin finish and matte finish and so on. And please don't fret that we're not giving Elphaba red bottoms.
Put yourself in these women's shoes. These women are in pain and these women just want love.
Yes, I know. But I was like, let's try something new, something different for me. But yeah, no actual reason. I just thought the black would be more fitting this time around. While the paint dries, let's go ahead and work on her hands. I wanted to give her some fingerless gloves, which I think adds such an elegant flair to, honestly, any historical-esque outfit. And of course, we cannot forget about the iconic nails. I'm just taking some doll packaging and I am cutting out really, really tiny and skinny, like, triangles. And this will be the base for her nails. And I'm just using super glue to attach it to her hands. Now to add a more realistic 3D nail look, I'm using my UV gel polish to build the shape. This part definitely makes the nails really, really hard, but it also makes it super brittle and it can snap off. So you just want to make sure that you're still very careful when you're handling the hands, as I am. Like, I never really touch the nails after this. I always just touch the palms of the doll's hand, because when I was posing her, one of her nails actually popped off and I was freaking out, but I was able to glue it back on, you know, do the whole thing all over again. But look how amazing these nails are. I'm so obsessed with them. Now let's work on her broom. I was going to recreate what I did for last year's broom since I think it looked perfect. But the downside is that it catches onto her new dress a little too easily. And since the gauze fabric in the dress is so delicate, I'm afraid that it would tear it apart. So let's go ahead and try something else. I think last year I was using some twigs or something like that, something like real. And so this year I'm going to try and just use some yarn just to add more like natural organic texture. And I feel like, at least actually on camera, it looks pretty realistic. I didn't really test out how this was going to work with the dress and if it's going to catch onto the fabric. So we're hoping for the best. We're hoping that the yarn is soft enough that it doesn't get caught on. Now let's paint it and try to match it with the original broom. So obviously lots of browns, lots of natural color, like very nature-esque color, twigs, browns, greens here and there. Like her broom actually has greens in there. And the green that I use is actually a little bit more metallic, so it looks super cool and more magical. I think the new broom looks so good. Definitely not as dramatic as the first one, but still detailed and not plastic looking. And most importantly, it passes the non-costume catching test. Now, of course, we can't forget about the Grimmery. The Grimmery! I don't even know what I'm reading! I'm actually surprised that this book completely opens up. It's a really perfect prop for play, for photo shoots, or anything. I just want to do my big one and make this look old and dusty. I mean, it's not like anyone was really using it before. One of my favorite painting techniques is making something old-looking, dingy, dusty, dirty, and just like worn out, and dry brushing is literally the go-to for that. At least for me, like that's what I love to do, and that's what we're doing with this one. We're just dry brushing it with deeper browns, some black here and there, some gold here and there. You know, we're making the pages look more worn out, and so on, and I feel like it's just so fun dry brushing something. I truly love antiquifying something. Antiquifying? Yes. Now it's time to work on her visage. Again, I will do my best to capture Cynthia Erivo's face and essence, but realism is not my usual forte. Last year, I really went for a dramatic color palette for Elphaba, dark eyes and dark lips. This time, I want to tone it down just a smidge and still retain the overall glamour that Cynthia Erivo has in real life. Of course, we have to start by removing the factory paint with our acetone or nail polish remover if it has acetone in it. After priming with Mr. Super Clear, we can finally sketch out the features we want for Miss Elphaba, Miss Cynthia Erivo, using my watercolor pencils. When mapping out the features, I was definitely looking and referencing a lot of Cynthia Erivo's like red carpet looks, because those are like full-blown like makeup looks, and I mean they're high quality, so you can really see like the features, the shadows, and everything like that. And we're just changing up the colors to be more like Elphaba-esque in a way. Of course, we can't forget about the freckles, and I am definitely layering this up, different shades of freckles. Some are old, some are new. I feel like that makes it look more natural and adds dimension to the face. Now let's go ahead and start adding some eyeliner and also deepening those lines, adding contrast to her face. I feel like that's really important for Elphaba's makeup overall. And instead of giving her black lipstick like I did last year, I think I'm going to keep the green lips, but we're just kind of like making it darker. We're adding some lines to it to give it some dimension. Of course, we can't forget about her baby hairs, her edges. So over here, I'm actually starting with a brown color. Since her hair is actually not pure black, it's literally brown, it's black, it has lots of dimensions, and I thought, let's try to match the baby hairs to her hair color. I'm actually contouring her face not just with darker green, but also hints of blue here and there because cooler toned shadows gives off more of the illusion that it is a realistic shadow and makes the whole contouring a little bit more intense. Now, of course, we cannot forget about her lashes. And for this one, I am drawing them on. I've been trying to not do like 3D lashes on a Barbie scale, just because sometimes it casts too much of a shadow and their eyes end up disappearing underneath. And you guys know, we gotta give her some highlighter because why not? And for this one, I'm just using some gold one. And now let's go ahead and give her some catch lights for her eyes. To make her lips pop, let's go ahead and give it some gloss. Oh my Oz, she is looking so freaking good. I love how bright and softer her face looks and overall has that soft glam I was really aiming for. For her hair, I wanted to let them down like in the movie. This really adds a lot of movement and it's very dynamic, and I think it frames her décolletage super well now that they're showing. I'm just taking some of her framing pieces by the sides of her face and we are pulling that back. I ended up braiding them together just to give it more dimension and interest, and I think in the movie she actually has like a low ponytail, but for this one I definitely want her hair to be out. I really want that movement and I feel like it looks super good. Now let's put her together. I almost forgot to give her some earrings. Of course, we cannot forget about accessorizing her. And now let's go ahead and gather all of our pieces so we can dress her up. I am so excited to see the movie. I know some people already saw it like 4 days ago, like 4 days in advance, which I did not know that was an option, like an early screening of it. And I'm very jealous. But if you guys have seen it, what is your favorite part of Act 2 for Good? What is your favorite song? Like, I'm just, I look forward to seeing how they translate Act 2 into the movie. And yeah, I look forward to it so much. And now we're done with Elphaba for Good.